What's cracking, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Pinball Pinheads.
Carl, why do you look like that?
I'm glad you asked, Max. You see, everyone, I feel like clowns lately haven't really been given a fair shake. You know, there's a bit of a scary clown epidemic going on, and I just wanted everyone to know that clowns really aren't that bad.
They're not?
Of course, Max. In fact, I've invited a guest today to help us introduce the next pinball table. Everyone, I would like you to meet Rudy.
Carl?
Well, hold on. We gotta give him a fair chance. Jesus Christ! Kill it! How do we kill it? FunHouse was released by Williams in November of 1990. It's considered a spiritual successor to a 1956 pinball table of the same name, also released by Williams. It was the second collaboration between Larry DeMar and Pat Lawler.
We've already covered Larry DeMar's early career in our previous episodes of Pinball Pinheads, so we're gonna completely ignore him and direct our attention to Pat Lawler. Pat Lawler started designing games sometime in 1980. He worked for Dave Nutting Associates, which had close business ties with Midway Games, even creating the video chip in the ill-fated Bally Astrocade.
Unfortunately for Pat and the Astrocade, they were in the middle of the 1980s video game crash that almost destroyed the industry. The only confirmed releases Pat was involved in during this time was The Adventures of Robbie Roto, released sometime in 1981, and 10-Pin Deluxe, released in 1984. Neither game did particularly well, with Robbie Roto being overshadowed by the likes of Dig Dug, and 10-Pin Deluxe being overshadowed by everything. 2 years later, Pat met Larry DeMar, who already had 6 pinball tables under his belt. Together, they designed a pinball prototype, which Larry presented to Williams, who decided to purchase their prototype, and by 1988, the game was released as Banzai Run.
Due to high maintenance costs, Banzai Run only sold 1,751 units. However, Williams was impressed with Pat Lawler's talents and hired him full-time. His next 2 tables, Earthshaker and Whirlwind, were not only innovative, but much more successful, selling a combined 12,561 units. But these sales would pale in comparison to his next collaboration with Larry DeMar, the table that would become FunHouse.
FunHouse was programmed by Larry DeMar and Brian Eddy. Larry was the lead programmer for the project, while Brian Eddy handled display and flasher effects. Not that kind of flasher effect. Brian Eddy is known today as the mastermind of critically acclaimed pinball tables such as Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars. FunHouse was relatively early in his career. Brian started programming as a child, writing games in assembly for the VIC-20 and Commodore 64. He was hired by Williams in 1989 as an effects programmer. Before hitting it big with FunHouse, he worked on Mousing Around, Bad Cats, and Pool Sharks. I guess he liked animals or something.
Sound design for FunHouse was performed by John Hay. He previously worked with Mr. Lawler on Earthshaker, and it was his 6th pinball table. John is noticeable for providing the grunts and scream effects in Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, and he also wrote the script for NBA Jam's iconic announcer.
Monster Jam! He's on fire!
FunHouse is the first pinball table on Pinball Pinheads to feature music. It was composed by pinball legend Chris Granner, a man with 45 pinball credits. He also worked on the previously mentioned Earthshaker and Whirlwind. After graduating with a bachelor's degree in music and a master's in music composition, Chris got his first taste of pinball with Bally, designing sound and music for 1980's Xenon. Sometime in 1985, he landed a job with Williams and quickly made a name for himself, working on heavy hitters such as Pinbot, F-14 Tomcat, and Joust 2. His output at this time was remarkable, as FunHouse was his 19th pinball table in 5 years.
FunHouse's cabinet artwork was produced by, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, John Usey, a successful illustrator whose work can be found in pinball, video games, magazines, and children's books. People from my generation would recognize his work in the He-Man Masters of the Universe toy line, the Goosebumps children's book series, and, you guessed it, Playboy magazine. John got his first taste of pinball in 1976. His roommate at the time was Ken Kupietz, a freelance artist working for Bally. Through this connection, John was asked to make some designs for a pinball table with a 1930s American gangster theme. Bally went for his artwork, and the table was released as Old Chicago. 12 years later, he returned to the pinball world and started working for Williams regularly. He became close friends with Pat Lawler after working on Whirlwind, and collaborated on many projects from then on out.
Much of FunHouse's success could be attributed to Rudy, the wisecracking clown that takes center stage.
When we first tested the game in a large arcade, we set the game up in the morning and waited for customers to come to the arcade. We had a guy walking along the line pretty briskly, just sort of bopping along, glancing at games. Just like a comedy sketch, this guy makes it one step past the game when he stops dead, turns to the side, and stares into the game with Rudy. He runs to the change machine and starts to play to see what the big head on the playfield would do. I knew at that point we had a huge game.
Rudy was designed by John Usey, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and voiced by Ed Boon, a programmer and designer known today for co-creating Mortal Kombat.
You weak, pathetic fool.
FunHouse has eye-catching backlash that begs you to join the main attraction. See Rudy, the amazing mechanical man. Is he human? Is he machine? He's kinda creepy is what he is. You can find a small reference to Pat Lawler's previous table, Whirlwind, which John Usey also did artwork for. You can also find John himself. That's him in the foreground, and apparently that's his child dropping the ice cream down that woman's shirt. Right. The center playfield is built around a giant clock. Its original design demanded a mechanical clock, but Pat Lawler worried about reliability and maintenance costs, so it was changed to a light array instead. It's still very effective at drawing attention to the game. Brian Eddy really needs to be praised here, as the light show this table provides is something to behold. Rudy watches from the top of the game. His mechanics allow him to talk, blink, and look left and right, which really helps bring him to life. And how about them balloons? They float.
They float. So when you're down here with me, you float down!
Not sure how I feel about the side of the cabinet. Did we really need Rudy staring menacingly behind the logo?
FunHouse's audio is driven by a Yamaha YM2151 sound chip, which is capable of 8 sound channels. Originally designed for electronic pianos and keyboards, the chip found its way onto many Japanese home computers. Starting with Marvel Madness in 1984, the chip was widely used by the likes of Atari, Williams, Konami, Sega, and Capcom, so arcade junkies will be familiar with the sounds that this chip produces. FunHouse's music channels the FunHouse experience with upbeat yet wacky arrangements that reminds the player of a circus or a local fair. Sound effects are also reminiscent of games that one would find at the carnival, going beyond the usual bleeps and bloops. Add the fact that you got a talking clown insulting you during the gameplay, and you got yourself a fun and engaging soundscape.
You're making me very unhappy.
FunHouse features 3 flippers, 3 pop bumpers, 1 ramp, 4 standing targets, a 3-bank set of stand-up targets, 2 plungers, and 1 talking clown.
FunHouse has more rules than the Bible, so we're going to focus on the main goal, which is to advance the center clock to midnight. Practically every action has some effect on the clock. The 3 pop bumpers are worth 3,000 points and advance the clock by 5 minutes when lit. Flashing jet bumpers are 5,000 points and 10 minutes. Hitting the rollover here will cause the pop bumpers to light up or blink. The manhole below the pop bumpers is worth 85,000 points and 10 minutes. The 4 step targets are worth 2,000 points and advance the clock by 5 minutes. The super dog targets are worth 3,000 points and 5 minutes. The trap door is worth 500,000 points and 10 minutes. Hitting it 3 times will net you 1 million points. The hidden hallway is worth 75,000 points in 10 minutes. The The wind tunnel is worth 10,000 points and 15 minutes. The center ramp is worth 75,000 points and 15 minutes the first time. Repeated visits can advance those values up to 150,000 points and 30 minutes. Once the clock reaches 1:30, you can only advance it further by locking a ball in the hidden hallway. Locking the first ball advances the clock to 11:45. Locking the second ball finally brings about midnight and puts Rudy to sleep.
I'm so sleepy.
This provides an opportunity to shoot the ball right into Rudy's mouth, awarding 1 million points and activating multi-ball. Activating multi-ball temporarily increases the trapdoor value to 2 million points. Each subsequent visit increases the value by 1 million, maxing out at 10 million points. FunHouse is heavy on right flipper control, as most table goals can be reached from it. The table layout is also designed to bring the ball back here most of the time. The left flipper is important though, as it's the only clear path to the hidden hallway. The most reliable way to get the ball to the left flipper is by aiming for the ramp. Getting high scores on this table means mastering the left flipper's hidden hallway shot and setting up shots against Rudy and the trapdoor, which is accomplished with the upper left flipper. Another hot spot is the secret room behind Rudy. I don't want to know what he does in there. Sink the ball in here for Rudy's secret hideout bonus, which increases with each shot. The wind tunnel hole is the easiest shot on the table and is a godsend for beginners trying to increase their score. It can grant one of 6 rewards if you manage to hit it after slamming Rudy with the ball. This can lead to extra ball opportunities, point modifiers, and quick multi-ball rounds. Earning all 6 rewards activates Super Frenzy, which greatly increases point multipliers for 20 seconds.
FunHouse might be the most approachable game we've done on Pinball Pinheads. It's easy to get into, with plenty of depth for the hardcore audience. Most of the shooting angles are straightforward, and the arrows on the playing field make shooting easier. The outlanes are relatively safe compared to other tables, reducing the chances of short plays. Left flipper shots and the step targets are probably the most dangerous of shots to go for, but they're easily avoidable if you don't feel up to it. Rudy is an awesome antagonist. He starts off the game friendly enough, but as the clock approaches midnight, he becomes increasingly more agitated.
This is really starting to annoy me.
He also has a habit of giving players nicknames, which is more obvious in multiplayer. Chucky, Biff, Bucko, Spunky, ooh, gotta be careful with that one, and Slick. For whatever reason, Rudy is particularly mean to players named Slick, and will harass them even if the clock is well beyond midnight.
You big sausage!
Hitting Rudy with the ball is a fun way to get back at him though, while earning more points.
That was no accident.
We personally had fond memories of FunHouse, finding it in a number of locations over the years. 10,750 units were produced, making it a huge hit for Williams. Even though Rudy can be mean, the table itself is pretty friendly for beginners. The talking head and the FunHouse theme was instantly eye-catching to us children, but it was the fair gameplay that kept us coming back. Playing it safe means you get a long play session in, while going for the high score offers a fun challenge. The game is as hard as you want it to be, a golden medium rarely seeing in arcade games. It's easy to see why FunHouse is fondly sought after and well reviewed.
I wouldn't recommend following him into the sewers though.
Well, I think we spent enough time clowning around for today, so where to next?
I don't know, man. It looks like we might have to wait a bit. Uber has raised their prices again. Darn. I don't know. Maybe we should call a taxi? Taxi? That's a really good idea, Max.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. Twin Opinion cares about your opinion, and your participation keeps us alive. So share your comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel. You can also find Twin Opinion on Facebook or visit our website at asamiarrow.com.